What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Cold Steel Recon 1. This is the second of my great 2020 Cold Steel panic buys that I bought out of 5 or so. Wondering if we were going to have Cold Steel, especially some of the, bigger designs and potentially more scary looking ones available. And so I did go ahead and buy this as part of that panic. This particular knife costs like $100 I think now, and that's consistent with current dollar prices though. So this big boy sports a 4-inch PVD coated S35 VN blade, and which is a great steel for everyday use. Also great for some hard use. We're starting to see fixed knives have S35 VN steel, and they're like SCs and so forth. So that's a really good steel. It of course employs the triad lock, which is designed by Andrew Demko. So it's very solid and good to go. Very good lockup. This thing's not going anywhere. So no questions about that. You've probably already heard about that. It does provide with the backlock use ambidexterity, though we will talk about this just a little bit in the cons section. But it does provide decent left-hand use out there. So in terms of comparisons, for myself, I had the Cold Steel gun sight. So they're both made of 0.13-inch steel. The gun sight, though, is the cheaper. I think the AUS 10A. Steel, yeah, this is the AUS 10A, but it's similarly priced at this. I think it was like $90 last year. It might be a little bit more now. So that would definitely be one of the comparison knives that I have. And then also another Cold Steel big bruiser would be the 8010 model. So it's obviously a little bit shorter, going to be a little bit more legal in additional areas here. The 8010, and then of course it has a totally different contouring than this particular knife, and is not necessarily used as much for tactical use, which of course this does look as though it essentially would be for tactical use. For my use though, I think I'm not going to be able to carry it in my particular area because it's not legal to carry a 4-inch blade. This is a 4-inch blade. So I'm going to basically use this as a camping knife and just kind of leave it in my vehicle for when I do that. In terms of when this is definitely a Cold Steel, so therefore hard use, right? So of course, let's go ahead and get out the glove. Whenever we hear hard use test, we do have to go ahead and try that out. And this one actually I've tested already. It works pretty well. You can slow roll it with your thumb in a glove, and then on the return, it actually works pretty well too. Plus, with some of those tight spots in that blade coming down, not quite like a guillotine, but you can kind of flick it out pretty well too in gloves. So as far as that goes, yep, very, very much a hard use capable knife. I'll go ahead and take that off. Let's jump right into the pros of this knife. This thing actually is, again, I mentioned it's 0.13 steel. This thing cuts and slices very well. Not only was it really sharp and great, with a great toothy sharpening on it, it wasn't entirely symmetrical, but it didn't worry me that much. They did a really good job of sharpening it, so this thing just cut really well. I was quite amazed at how well it sliced. A pretty good tall blade there, though, so that would explain that with that flat saber grind there. It did pass the glove test, and of course these G10 scales are absolutely contoured perfectly. You can kind of see the rounding on there, and it really does fit a medium large hand with plenty of space. So if you have a real big XL hand, this one's going to fit you just fine. Another great thing is they actually give you 2 pocket clips, because you'll notice the pocket clip is curved and kind of contoured with the scale there, and they actually do ship you another one with the basically equal and opposite contouring, so that's kind of a nice thing. The triad catch zone that I call it, they managed to entirely block this one out while it's sitting in your pocket. So this front side, or I guess the back of the blade here, where it meets up with the pin on the triad lock, on many Demko knives, and I'll just demonstrate those in a second. On many Demko knives, or some of these triad knives rather, the lock knives, it leaves an open space there, and so it can catch on materials and pick up junk and everything. This one actually manages to get rid of that entirely. Let me go ahead and demonstrate that. On the 8010, for example, this would be the zone of that, that triad catchment zone, and so this can catch on stuff, and as well on the gun side. So you're going to find that on most of these triad locks, that catches on that. But this one actually creates that nice little flat there, so it covers that up. And in fact, that provides one of the other additional strength things is in the grip. If you need to choke up and go to that flat, it actually provides for a very safe, because you're locked in here with these 3, and it provides a very safe zone that your hand's not going to go off anywhere on that. So yeah, that's another really solid thing. And then Yeah. Oh, the other last thing that I also found that this really was far superior than many of the cold steel knives that I've had is the drop zone when you're actually going to drop this. A lot of times you can see where that blade, if you don't have your finger really far forward, you could risk cutting yourself. But this particular knife is great. You can go all the way back to here before you're even at risk of catching anything there. Again, let me go ahead and demonstrate this on the 8010, which is I think actually one of the riskier models on this, and I don't even do it single-handed anymore, because when I release this down, let me rotate there, you'll notice that you are very close to blade right there. And so if you're not really far up on the 8010, I mean, I will, but boy, I know that I'm going to be basically touching blade, sharpened blade to my fingernail there. So you got to be really careful. This one's a little bit better, I actually find, than many cold steels. So overall, boy, this thing is definitely a top line cold steel. On the con side, we were talking about the thumb studs. It comes with a nice little, you can unscrew this thing and move it to the other side if you want to go ahead and do this left-handed and deploy it left-handed. But I don't know why they didn't just make it symmetrical. They have other knives. I know, like the 8015, and then in fact also like the 8010 is similar. You can see that it has the ambidexterity already built in. You don't have to unscrew it and put it on the other side. So that is definitely a con on this one. I would say that the clip is fairly pocket destroying on this particular knife. The G10 is not as grippy as some of the other knives that I've had, as well as some of those that are the whatever GFN that just tears you apart. And I could always sand that too. But even aside from that, it just does not have enough ramp. You can see that. So when you're trying to put this away in your pocket, this is not really good. That's the one thing about this one is really, if you're going to use this to carry in your jeans, it just doesn't pocket one-handed well. So that's definitely on the low side. And I just really didn't like that particular part of it. So, otherwise, that's really all I could find in terms of real serious flaws on this particular knife. It's so dang comfortable. I mean, I guess one possible other thing is anytime you ever have two finger choils there, it doesn't do the best pull cuts, but this one actually kind of works. It doesn't really dig in, and that's because of the chamfering, or not the chamfering, but the contouring that they did there. It's just done so well, and it's so smooth that even on a pull cut, this doesn't really hurt so bad. So boy, kudos and thumbs up to that. Overall, what I would say is this is a great and well-balanced bruiser. I have no problem, if I had to use something hard and I was out in the wild, the famous question is, which folding blade would you use as a fixed replacement for a fixed blade out in the wild? This is probably it. It's really good cutter, good slicer. The spear point blade you could probably use to drill a bow hole. Bow hole if you needed. I forget what that's called. It's basically just a little hole for a bow drill hole. That's what it's called. Thank you. So yeah, very good. It's obviously very tough. The triad lock's not going to break. It's very comfortable if you had to use this and cut feather sticks for a long time. So overall, what a great balanced bruiser. If you are able to carry a 4-inch knife in your area and you could just sand that down. This knife is absolutely fantastic and very recommendable. Yeah, for me, this is maybe the top cold steel, and I've handled, I don't know, 8 or 10 or so. So hope you enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe, and have a great day. Take care now.